Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it seems that we have ourselves a bit of a mystery here, coming from the bastion of bellends, the capital of cockery that is San Francisco, California. Now, before I get into the story, let me explain my position on this situation. There is a tendency, because of the tribal political climate, not to mention this tale does involve a political figure, to instantly look at this situation through a political lens. And I think this is a mistake. There's this etiquette on the right of treating people with respect and dignity, of not engaging in certain tactics because we are not like our opposition. I do not think that mindset is wholly appropriate for the situation, for reasons I'll get into in a moment. But I also believe in fighting fire with fire. The battleground is always equal. What matters is why you fight. In this story, the husband of one of the most corrupt political figures in the US government got his head caved in with a hammer. This is a family who openly engages in insider trading, who's got a 9-figure net worth from a salary of 6, and yes, I know that's mostly her husband, who loots the country dry with impunity, and now is supposed to be dignified and respectful because harm has befallen these cretins. No. I can sympathize with good people falling on hard times. However, when something objectively horrible happens to someone truly reprehensible, I can consider the act a crime from the perspective of the law. However, seeing as these are truly despicable, immoral creatures, I do not see this as a tragedy. No, I consider it karma. So when the story broke, again, political figure, tribal environment, the first go-to before any of the facts even came out, naturally the morons of legacy media were frothing at the mouth and could barely contain their giddy joy of trying to somehow make this Trump's fault. Which Biden naturally did, and like everything else he does, appears tone-deaf and failed miserably. Here is something about America that I can understand but still drives me fucking crazy. If you look at America right now, the far left is massacring the Democratic Party, and on the right, the MAGA ladies and gentlemen are engaging in a hostile takeover of the Republican Party, which is beautiful, by the way. So evidently there is infighting on both sides. Now, because the media is more interested in sensationalist bullshittery rather than objective reality, they refuse to acknowledge that the infighting can spill over into violent confrontations, especially on the left, when the less extreme voices get clipped for not being extreme enough. The world is not solid red and blue, people. There's shades of saturation in both camps. So now that is all out of the way, let's get on with the funny. So for the time being, I will don the persona of Detective Utensil, and my sources for the scoop are the mainstream media and the internet. And frankly, I don't know which source has less credibility. To give the TLDR of this whole thing, Paul Pelosi, the husband of the Speaker of the cesspool, third in line for the US presidency, was attacked in his own home with a hammer. That's the main crux. The funniest joke that I've seen in all of this was, I think it was a Muslim lass who said twice in the last 6 months, Paul Pelosi has had run-ins with the police, both hammered. I don't care if that's inappropriate, that's funny as hell. So we have this high-powered political affiliated family member being assaulted in their own home at an unholy hour in the AM. We're days away from the midterms in a highly charged political time with a shoot first, ask questions later kind of style of press who will do just about anything to hypercharge this as a political issue and smear the opposition. So I think it's safe to say, given all of these variables I just mentioned, take all of this with a massive grain of salt because this story is going to be riddled with plot holes, inconsistencies, and we're very likely going to end up with more questions than answers. Now, Mr. Pelosi is apparently known for, how can I say this politely, engaging in a bit of while the cat's away the mouse will play, except he plays offside, if you know what I mean. And here is where this gets all kinds of wacky. The suspect in question is one David DePape, or I will call him David DePepe because it's funnier, or Mr. X for short, let's go with that one. He's had a colorful past, to say the least. Apparently he's been homeless before, living in storage units. He was a member of the Green Party and a pro-nudity activist. And if ransacking the man's residence was anything to go by, quite politically radical, with symbols and signs of BLM and the Rainbow Coalition. And according to CNN, someone he had previously worked with said he talks to angels. This is an area of America known for rampant homelessness and drug addiction, which I am sure is totally coincidental, seeing as we're clearly dealing with a highly stable member of society here. There was apparently some blog posts of censorship, January 6, 2020, the usual suspects. However, I do not know when they were posted or if they even existed, just a claim, so I'm skeptical. Now, frankly, I'm skeptical of most of the story because it just keeps getting weirder. Mr. X, according to the police, broke into the Pelosi residence through a back entrance, Man, the jokes just keep writing themselves. Get this, armed with a hammer and in his underwear. Now, I don't know what security is around the neighborhood or the Pelosi residence, or lack thereof, that some drug-addicted loon armed with a hammer and his underwear could somehow pull off some discount MacGyver shit and make it this far. And again, we keep getting weirder. Mr. Pelosi, at the very least, must have had a word with this guy, because he somehow managed to sneak off into the bathroom at probably past 2 a.m., called the police, claiming Mr. X identified himself as a friend, but explained he didn't know the dude, and the police felt something was off, and frankly, so do we. From what I heard, there's apparently a third person involved in this, which I don't frankly believe, which also makes the break-in story even more sus, because the police showed up and were let in by someone still to be identified. The police catch Mr. X in his underwear with Mr. Pelosi holding a hammer. At this point, the guy pulls the hammer away and starts whacking Mr. Pelosi in the presence of the police, who tackles him and then takes him into custody. There's been reports Mr. X had a list of politicians and was chanting, "Where's Nancy?" apparently while striking Mr. Pelosi with the hammer. Question for you, Mr. Pelosi. How the hell were you able to speak to a guy who broke into your house with a damn hammer, go to the bathroom with a stranger who did this whilst you called the police, leave the bathroom with him still there, wait for the cops to show, someone else let them in, all the while you're with some dude who apparently broke into your house armed with a hammer and underwear and still no alarm went off or was responded to, who was looking for your wife supposedly, and the police catch you both holding the hammer? But how the hell did that escalation happen exactly? Because I don't believe this story for a damn second. Now allegedly, and I have to keep saying this because I really don't know, Mr. X has had past arrests for male prostitution, which given the homelessness and drug addiction I can believe. Now according to him, he and Mr. Pelosi were engaging in a bit of offside rough and tumble, so to speak, and there was an escalating argument over narcotics, and that's when the hammer came out. Which is not a euphemism, by the way. Now I'll be honest, I find his story more plausible, and it's not helped by the fact that Mr. Pelosi allegedly has a reputation for pump and dump schemes of a different variety. He also supposedly refuses to turn over surveillance footage, which, yeah, is making this even more sketchy than it already is. And that is all for today. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all next time.